Hello, everybody. My name is Anonymous Autumn, and today I have a special guest with me once again, Mr. ForeverAzrael.
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
And today we have another episode of Idiotic Insight. And we know
Yay!
it's been a while, but we've been a bit busy in scheduling and all that. So, without further ado, let us jump right into it. So, today's topic is the patch that recently came out for Battlefield 3. And how we came to this topic is Azrael here had a live commentary with Billy the Kid, and he was talking about certain things that he didn't like about the patch. And I replied in the comment, giving my thoughts, and then he replied as well. And I thought, you know what, this would make a great idiotic insight topic. So, now, Azrael, why don't you explain exactly what it is, or just one thing that you don't really like about the patch?
Oh, where to start? It's not that I don't like the patch. I think it has, benefited the game a lot. But there is certain things that I don't agree with and I don't like. And one is, obviously, the wide-known one is suppression. And that is just simply because I feel that before the patch, it was the guy with the best gun skills, the best accuracy, or whatever. The guy who was most familiar with his weapon would win the gunfight all the time. But now I find more often than not, or in some cases anyway, that even if you are a better player skill-wise, if a guy who is a lesser player, let's say, gets a couple of shots off on you first, whereas before the patch you could kill the guy still, but after the patch I find it's a lot harder. It's more difficult, and I end up getting angry sometimes, and I don't like it. I think people, the best skilled players should still be able to get the kill, even if the guy did shoot you a couple of times first.
Yeah.
But it's just not the case anymore. But I mean, maybe it's just me needing to obviously play a little bit more and get the grips with things. But we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree with you on this. I felt suppression changes were a little bit heavy-handed, but at this point in time, I've really acclimated to the changes that they made. And actually, Demise99 stated that he felt that they went a little bit overboard with suppression. So you're right, they did go a little bit too much, and they're trying to find a middle ground with the next patch. It'll probably be released sometime, probably a year from now at this rate. But yeah, I agree with you on that suppression. The concept of suppression, I'm not a big fan of because, like you said, it gives whoever shoots first the supreme advantage, no matter what the skill difference is between the two players.
Yeah,
Although one could argue that the more skilled player will retreat to cover, find a way around the situation, and then take out the enemy. Now, this is this is a fair argument because it argues that the better player is the person who can outthink the other guy. But raw skill in terms of being the best at aiming or shooting or controlling your weapon, I still feel like they should win over the person who can think more advanced. Although there are situations where the better thinker will always beat the guy who's got the best gun skills. So
yeah,
again, I agree with you on that, but also at the same time, I feel like it's not a critical issue for me anymore, at least because I've really gotten used to it. And with the cover perk, it's lessened a bit, not extremely noticeably, but it is lessened a bit. So yeah.
yeah. They need
Now,
to find a sort of happy median for it.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I felt suppression mm, before the patch was a little bit underpowered. Like it wasn't too noticeable unless you started getting a lot of fire sent at you. And actually, what they changed in the patch was the radius of which bullets could enter your. You have like a circle around you, let's say, and if a bullet enters that proximity, then it will suppress you a certain amount. And what they did in the patch was increase that to a much larger level. So people who are hiding in like a window of a building or behind a small pole will then receive suppression, even though they're behind, a little bit of cover. And so, but they also mess with the numbers that increased the amount of suppression you received. So they're trying to find like you said, a happy median.
Yeah,
So it's a step in the right direction, but almost too big of a step, one could say.
yeah. Well, I think, like you said, it should get patched, and the next patch that comes out. And what I've heard from internet rumor is that there may or may not be a patch when the new DLC comes out, Close Quarters, which is in a month and a half time or so, I believe. But we'll just have to wait and see, like you said. But I mean, what other issues do you think you agree with the patch or disagree?
Now, a big one for me that I don't like actually is the changes that they made to the vehicle play in the game. I like how that you're more vulnerable in like light vehicles such as a buggy or a DPV or something like that. That is something I like. However, I feel that they went a bit overboard with the nerfing of the tank armor and how much damage they receive. Anyways, before, like, if a good chopper team had a good shot on a tank, they could disable that tank in about one hit. Or not one hit, but rather one pass. But now, how it is that if the chopper is, in a position, the correct position, and has enough time to get a decent salvo of munitions down range, they can completely destroy the tank or drop it down to something like 19 or 9% health,
Yeah.
giving no time for the engineer to actually get out and repair. So I feel like they really they shafted tanks
Yeah,
big time.
paper mache is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. I like to say they've been turned into tin cans, at least against choppers. I feel like I really like how they do the tank-on-tank gameplay. I feel that's been better, but I feel choppers are just a little bit too potent when facing enemy tanks.
But
And what are your thoughts on this?
that's the thing, though. I'm not sure if you are aware, but this has been slightly patched for PC gamers. They received a patch not long after, sort of
Oh,
like
really?
not like a full patch like what we've just had, but sort of like an update, like a server sort of update kind of deal, something like that, if that's the correct terminology. But their tanks have been buffed up, sorry, a little bit more than what they were originally from the patch.
Oh,
And
I didn't know
I
that.
don't believe that console players, i.e. me and you, for PS3 and Xbox respectively, have had that update yet. I can't recall seeing an update when I've logged on. But
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard of it. I don't know.
well, I think that is the case. I've seen a few videos on it, and apparently that is what has happened. The tanks have been buffed up a little bit for PC, so hopefully us console gamers get it. And
Us console peasants.
yeah, the poor guys, the lesser mortals, as we're sometimes described. Yeah, hopefully we get it sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely.
But there is probably one more sort of pet hate that I've got for the patch or what they've done, and that's it. I know you're going to disagree, but that is the weapon attachments and the different combos that you're allowed to use. Like as everyone knows who've seen my videos and things like that, and who've played with me, I used to love obviously the typical foregrip and suppressor combo. Can't get my words out. And yeah, I found it. I know you've said it's quite potent in pretty much any situation, but I liked it. It could handle well at close quarters and at long range, and you were undetectable on the enemy minimap. And I didn't really see a problem with that. And the fact that they've now patched it, and the suppressor is now
A pile of shit.
No, it's different now. It's not what it used to be.
No.
And
But
I feel that
sorry.
the combos that I used to like to use aren't the same, and I've had to adapt my playstyle a little bit, and I am struggling at the moment. But like I've said previously already, I think it's just a fact of playing the game a little bit more and getting used to it.
Yeah. Now, like you said, I disagree completely on this change. I think that the fact that they made the other options for attachments and guns is actually a very good thing, not only for the fun factor, but for like the ecosystem of the entire game. Because before you'd see nothing but assaults running around with foregrip suppressor, or people engineer with their carbines with foregrip suppressor, and really any class.
Yeah.
That was the setup, and it really offered no change, no dynamicy to the actual battlefield. It honestly, it got a little boring because it was sort of like the Magnum ammo sort of situation in BC2. If you didn't use it, you were at a disadvantage because it offered such a huge boost to your gameplay.
Yeah.
And it's not the greatest analogy, but the foregrip suppressor, I mean, you had a vast reduction in your vertical recoil thanks to the suppressor, and you lost a lot of horizontal recoil thanks to the foregrip. And there's literally no negative side to the attachment combo. other than the fact that your rounds traveled slower. But I don't think really anybody really noticed that, or really was a sort of encouraging factor to not use it. And so I like the fact that they made the other attachments more viable, more logical to choose, such as the flash suppressor. That is probably my new go-to barrel attachment, because it significantly reduces your vertical recoil, but it doesn't reduce your accuracy anymore like it did pre-patch. So it doesn't really have any negatives except for the fact that you lose your hip fire accuracy, which I'm totally fine with because I don't hip fire all that much.
Yeah, you're only really supposed to hip fire, in my opinion anyway, if it's really face-to-face close quarters. But I've never really used the flash suppressor, so I'll probably have to try it out.
I recommend flash suppressor with the foregrip. It reduces your recoil. You get a little bit of a spike to your aim accuracy through the foregrip, but it's a good mid to close quarters setup.
Yeah, I still think, in my opinion, there is still a few attachments that are just totally useless, so I will try out the flash thing now. But, the tactical light, I know people still like to use it, and you see it running around, but it's not so much anymore. But it's just the fact that they need to nerf it, basically. It's still, as bright as the sun, if not brighter. And I just don't really enjoy playing against people who use that, because it's, I don't think you stand a chance, really, of killing a guy if he's got his flashlight right in your face. And,
well, the thing with the flash, the tac light, is that it's in the game, so they're not going to get rid of it, and it serves the exact purpose that it does in real life in the game. It's supposed to blind your foes, and they actually made it unrealistic in the fact that it's not quite as effective as it is in real life. But of course, this is not real life. This is a video game, and I do agree that it is annoying. But it's just when you think of the trade-offs that you have in order to use that, you don't get to use the heavy barrel, which maintains your high damage over long range. You don't get to use the flash suppressor, which vastly reduces your recoil. You don't get to use the sound and flash suppressor, which makes you stealthy. So you're giving up a lot to blind your enemies. So I think it's a pretty fair trade-off, and you don't really see it a lot. You're right, especially after the first patch that came out that really knocked it down a bit. So, but I honestly don't have a problem with really any of the attachments anymore, and not that I ever did. It's just that it's not. To summarize my thoughts on the whole weapon changes, that I think the change that they made to the attachments as a whole really makes the game more interesting, more dynamic, because people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You don't really see the same setup in the same game. People are using various weapons with different, sort of setups.
Yeah. I do like the heavy barrel. That's got to be said. I was never, like I said, I was never one for varying from the typical suppressor foregrip thing, but I have found myself using the heavy barrel a lot more frequently now, and I like the fact that I can, easily take down targets at a longer range.
Yeah.
But I think I've got to agree with you with what you've just said. There isn't, too many attachments that I've got really a major issue with. There is just the original one that I stated that I'm a little bit upset about it, but it's not putting me off the game or anything. I know some people who just, totally rage quit the game altogether.
Yeah.
Just over the patch. They've flooded the forums of DICE, of Battlefield and the Twitter feed and whatnot, and just completely spammed everything. And just totally rage quit the game and went to play Modern Warfare 3 or something. And it's like, really? Really? Come on.
Things change, and certain people don't get used to that. And, back in the day, games never got patched, really. There's a select few, but, for the most part, you bought your game, and that was it. Yeah. But now we're entering this new age where things are getting changed and patched all the time, and I don't think people are quite, up to the standard of that yet. But that's a whole nother topic in and of itself.
Yeah, that can be for the next episode, hopefully. But yeah, I think it's all just personal preference. Like, people were set in their ways of what they liked and what they didn't like pre-patch, and now that it's post-patch, people have just had to adapt that game and that play style, and it's sort of like, not so much, I don't want to say it's like a new game, because obviously it's not, it's still Battlefield, but you sort of know what I'm trying to say. It brings a whole new aspect to the game, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Definitely.
And I just don't think people or some people haven't appreciated the fact that they've had to sort of relearn the weapons and relearn the attachments and things like that. But I think what they've done with the patch has been overall reasonably good.
Definitely.
Obviously, everyone's going to have their minor little gripes at that swings at things, but it'll improve hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, guys, we got to wrap up this episode of Idiotic Insight. Sorry if we can actually talk. Just a reminder, I've been Anonymous Autumn.
And I've been ForeverAzrael.
And we'll talk to you guys later.
See you guys next time.